Hello, open-minded parents. I'm back today with another video about baby reading. And for this video, I'm going to tell you about books where the subject is teaching babies to read, because there's quite a few of them. And the reason why I wanted to create this video is because when I first started teaching my son to read, definitely the most challenging part about it was just believing that it would work and keeping up with the baby reading lessons on a daily basis over a really long period of time that is required for a baby to learn to read. If I think about my daughter, she is 1 year, 8 months old, and I've been teaching her since she was 4 months old, and so that's over a year, and she's she's reading words and doing all these things, which is great, but that's it's a long time to stick with it, right? What helped me when I was teaching my son was that I was in a parenting group, and most of the parents all the parents had already taught their children to read. Most of the parents had older children, they'd already taught them to read. And so I had all these success stories, all these people I could draw tips from and get encouragement from, and that was really, really helpful. I don't know of any groups like that exist today, so I thought the next best thing would be to share these books with you. So the first one I'll start with is Doman, How Smart Is Your Baby? And he has quite a few other books as well, books on reading, specifically on reading, mathematics, encyclopedic knowledge, swimming, foreign languages, and this book here specifically is for the first year of life. And Doman is sort of the father of baby reading. He was the first person who really established a methodology and started a school and has taught, I don't know, it must be tens of thousands of parents over the years how to teach their babies to read and other skills. And he has a school called the IAHP that exists in Philadelphia and has been there for decades. And they are still today, they hold in-person live seminars on this content, and they've had a lot of success. So I can't remember if I mentioned this before. I love Doman. I have so much respect for him, but one thing you have to be cautious about with his program is that he has a lot of regimens in his program where he's like, do this, and you do it 5 times a day, and you do that, and you do it 3 times a day. And it having your first baby can be really overwhelming, and then all this criteria that he has added on top it can create some stress, and you absolutely never want to be stressed as a parent, and you definitely don't want to be teaching your child when you're stressed. And so you just have to be cautious with these programs that you don't stress yourself out. A lot of people don't have that problem, but I found it a little bit too much for me. But I mean, either way, you should read his books and take what you like from them. Another book, this is, I own this on my Kindle, but I just printed out the cover because that's helpful, I find. Little Miss by Meikle, and his last name is spelled M-E-I-K-L-E, and this is such a wonderful story. It's by far the best page turner of all the ones I'm going to share with you. And this is an interesting story because somebody had gifted him the Your Baby Can Read program when his daughter was maybe 2 years old. And he got the program and he was like, oh, I hadn't really thought about teaching my daughter to read. And then he's like, well, now I want to, right? And he documents teaching his daughter how to read, and he used that program. He also used, I believe it was Hooked on Phonics. And he also tells his personal journey at the same time, how he had been sort of a not so great football player, and then he was able to improve his game and get scholarships, and eventually went on to become a Stanford Law graduate. And it's just like his own story and his daughter's reading story are intertwined, and it's a really great read, a really good page turner. Another really good book. I love this book so much. It's called We Can Do by Moshe. And another wonderful thing about this book is that it's available on audiobook. So if you're short on time, you can get the audiobook, and that really helps. The reason why I love this story is because this is written by a young man. He was maybe 15 years old when he wrote the book, and he was taught to read when he was a baby. And the book journals his life story. And he went back and asked his parents how they had taught him to read, and that's obviously because he obviously didn't remember. And he writes that down. He writes all about other life experiences after that, and it says on the front here, he entered college at the age of 8, graduated at the age of 11. So as you can imagine, he has a lot of interesting things to say. I remember that he did an interview that I watched one time, and it was super cute because he was working at NASA before he had a driver's license, and his mom had to drive him to his job, which is really funny. So I would definitely recommend this book. Super interesting. And his parents, by the way, did not use screens at all. So if you are interested in teaching your baby to read, but you don't want to use screens, you'll get some good ideas from this book. And on the topic of screen-free reading, there's also Native Reading by Timothy Kailing, and How to Teach Your Child to Read Easily and Naturally Before the Age of 3. And his method, no screens at all. He has all sorts of fun little games that he does. He uses techniques like labeling furniture around, labeling things around the house, and, all sorts of ideas here. And, you could use screens and then supplement with some of his techniques, which is what I did. Or you could just, use his program, and just do it completely screen-free. Glenn Doman's method is also screen-free. He recommends doing homemade flashcards. So yeah, lots of good ideas in this book. This is another really good book. And before I forget, in my previous video, I had mentioned Larry Sanger's How to Teach Your Baby to Read essay, which is available for free. So definitely check that out as well. I'm pretty sure I found out about this book from Larry. That's why that just came to mind. Oh yeah, there is Raising Confident Readers by Richard Gentry, and How to Teach Your Child to Read and Write from Baby to Age 7. And I actually haven't read this book. I'm pretty sure I haven't read this book, but I read a number of articles online by Richard Gentry, so you can do a Google search for those and read them. So he's got lots of good ideas, and again, he'll give you lots of confidence about teaching your baby to read. Here is Tony Buzan, and he's famous for having lots of memory techniques, and he wrote this book, Brainchild: How Smart Parents Make Smart Kids, and he's got a chapter in here on baby reading, and lots of other content in here as well. So this is a great book just to buy in general, and it's a great primer for activities and things you can do with your baby that will, help them to develop. And the last book I've got for you here is Right Brain Education, and this is by Pamela Sue Hickein. And I would like to do a whole review. She has a set of DVDs that she sells. She has also a Right Brain Education program that has a lot of things besides just reading that you can do with your baby, and also she has programs for slightly older children. She's just really, really interesting and unique, and has a lot of really good ideas. Her book does not specifically focus 100% on baby reading. She's got sort of a baby reading section, but really worthwhile to invest in as well, and just some really interesting ideas. So I think that's all I've got for you today. As you can see, there's a lot of people who have covered this topic, and it's kind of surprising that it's not better known in our society. There's so much information on it, and so many people have done this. So I hope you enjoy those books, and I hope you are enjoying teaching your baby to read if you started that process.